Good morning. Welcome to the 197th meeting of the ECCL. Thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. We know it's important to all of us. We're accepting questions during the meeting. However, and at the end of each speaker's comments, I will ask for questions. We'll try to answer as many as possible. However, because of time, we may have to limit it. So get them in quickly. We are limited to 100 people to be on this webinar. However, we are recording the meeting, I should say, and you'll be notified when it's available on the ECCL website, which is www.esterotoday.com. I'll turn it over to Mark for a moment. Mark?
Yeah, let's take a moment of silence of all those affected by the pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. Okay, just a brief introduction of our speakers today. Today we'll have Stephen Sarkozy. Hopefully he'll get on here. He's running a little bit late. Who's the manager of the Village Estero. Kyle Coleman is here, but under Kyle's name you see Jim Gilmartin, and that's another glitch we'll work out for the next meeting. Judy Hammond, a member of our Culture and Recreation Council. Julie Yellig, a member of our Transportation Council. And Amy Kutchenbecker, a member of our Education Council and administrator of the Junior Treatment Program. Also joining us are Mark Novitsky, you just heard from him, Barry Friedman, our Chief Membership Development Officer, and Alan Bodich, our Chief Communications Officer. Now, Steve Sarkozy was supposed to be first, but he is obviously delayed. So I'm going to ask Kyle Coleman to share with us some of his thoughts. Kyle serves as the deputy village manager, and has worked for the village since July of 2016. In his role, Kyle helps to manage daily operations of the village and is involved in several strategic efforts for the village. So Kyle, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jim. Good morning, everyone. As Jim mentioned, a lot of my work has to do with the day-to-day work of managing a city like Estero, and obviously we do that by government light. So a lot of people have staffs. We do contracting for maintenance. We do contracting for consulting services to when we're looking at what we're going to do with the Estero on the River piece we bought a few years ago. We bring in a consultant, we ramp up for that, we bring in public input, and then when we're done with it, we take our costs right back down. So that's how we're able to keep taxes low and reserves high. This piece I'm on today is to talk about a project that I've worked closely with Mark Novitsky and a few others from the ECCL on, and we're just frankly looking for more help. The idea is that we want to put Estero out there. We want to put Estero on the map. We want to tell people how great it is. And I think one of the great characteristics of it is that you can live in different parts and have very different experiences. So if you're in Villaggio, that's a very different experience than the Preserve, which is very different from Genova. So it's Estero, but these different communities have such different characters and things to offer. So what we're doing is we're working on a map, and the good thing is we're pretty far along on it, that will give people who are here in Estero, or if they're in Fort Myers and Bonita and looking to move here, or if they're in Chicago or New York and looking to move here, it's not entirely based on word of mouth. They can go in, they can see what these communities have to offer. And so I think it's easier if I just show you. But the takeaway here is that after I share my screen, you'll see what we're working on. And we need volunteers to help us collect the data and to get pictures and information to put into this resource that'll be publicly available, put out by the ECCL with the village. So let's see if I can share my screen here, because I think it's cool to see it in action. See if I can make it work. Okay, can everyone see that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is, if you're coming onto the village website, or we can host it on the ECCL website too, you're trying to figure out I want to move to Estero, and I've got some criteria in my mind, but it's tough for a realtor to know every new feature that every community has. If somebody installs a bocce court or a pickleball court or a dog park, it's really hard to know for that realtor to know every new update. So what this will do is you come in and you say, okay, I don't know the community names. I don't know age restriction, doesn't matter to me. But what I really want is I want to make sure it's a single family home. That's what I'm looking for. I need the things that offers. And what you'll see is different areas. Now, again, the map isn't complete. So if your community isn't lighting up, it's just the data isn't in yet. But let's say somebody else comes in and says, no, I've lived in a home my whole life. I don't want to deal with the roof, right? I just want to live in something with less maintenance. I don't want to mow the lawn every day. Villas and condos. Oh, you can see exactly what they are. And then you say, okay, I want a villa and condo, but I really want one that, let's say one that has tennis courts. Okay, those show up. And as you fill in this information, you'll be able to go through and spend 5 to 10 minutes, and you can find out the differences between all of these. And the last piece of it is when you zero in on one, let's see, if you pull up more information, it takes you right to their HOA website. So we're not trying to do everything here. This is a first stop to give people the information, to give them the resource, then they can go out and they can find everything that Villaggio has to offer, for example. So it's kind of a matchmaking service for people, and gated and non-gated, single family, condos, mobile, manufactured, whatever it is that you're looking for, this helps you find the right area for you in Estero. Did I miss anything, Mark? You're on mute.
Yeah, no, I think you got it all, Kyle. We're probably about 70% done collecting data. So we just need a few more communities, and we will be out looking for people to help us fill in those last, 30% of communities, and then pictures. We only got about 5% of the pictures. So it's an opportunity to show off your community and kind of show what you've got. So, pickleball courts, a dog park, whatever you have. So
Right.
yeah, I think we're doing good, Kyle. So we just need a little more help from the community, and we'll be out talking. And if you want to help us, contact Kyle or myself.
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay, anything else, Kyle?
That's it for me.
Okay,
yeah. I'll follow up, and I'll let you know when Steve's available, so you can get on.
Okay, well, let's get him on there.
Okay.
Okay, are there any questions for Kyle? Any of the participants? Anybody have any questions for Kyle?
No, I thought it was a cool idea, and I thought, what you showed was excellent, Kyle. Thank you.
Okay, great.
I really appreciate that.
As Kyle goes out to try to find Steve Sarkozy, I'll just get into the president's report, and when I'm finished with that, by that time, Steve will be back. And there he is. Okay, hey. Steve. All right.
Rambling from one to the other.
Yeah, I heard, and we appreciate you taking the time to do this. So absolutely. I'm going to do a little formal introduction, Steve, and then you can talk about the issues you like to talk about. Steve serves as a village manager. He came to the village in November of 15 with 35 years of local government experience. You wouldn't know that by looking at him, would you? Like a young-looking guy. 35 years of local government experience. The latest was the city manager of the city of Carlsbad, California. He also served as city manager of Bellevue, Washington, and the city of Roseville, Minnesota, and the city of Geneva, New York. Steve will be speaking about the village 62-acre purchase and updating you on the Estero on the River outreach program. So Steve, you've got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Good morning, everybody. Just a quick update on the Estero on the River project. As most of you know, in early 2019, the village council authorized the purchase of the 62.5 acres at the corner of Corkscrew and US 41. The south side of the river was bisected by the Happahatchee Center, and we began negotiations late that year with Happahatchees to transfer that property from the Happahatchee Group, which is a 501c3 organization devoted to environmental education primarily. And in early 2020, that property was transferred over to the village of Estero. So that leaves us with 67.5 acres at the corner of Corkscrew and US 41. We're committed to environmental education, and we brought in earlier this year the YMCA to be our managing partner on that property. And they have had a number of classes that they've continued that had been with Happahatchees, such as yoga, but also have expanded our environmental education program. When we purchased the property, the main objective was to retain property along the river in its natural state. And our intent is to do that, stepping back 200 to 300 feet, depending upon the location, to preserve the river, most likely for walking trails, connections to the Koreshan State Park, and just environmental preservation. But what to do with the remaining portion of the property is still an open question. We've been slowed down quite a bit by the COVID crisis in determining what to do there. The COVID crisis not only has affected our plans, but it also has really changed the real estate market. And there's a lot of uncertainty as to how things will develop and what will develop and what's needed in Estero, and what's possible in Estero. So that's really held us up. What we're doing right now is we've engaged a nationally known urban design city planner, and their name is the Canaan Associate Group out of Orlando. And the Canaan Group is helping us look at what could be possible from a development perspective, as well as what could be done if we were to preserve all of that property, or a large chunk of that property. And what we're trying to do is, currently, is we're out doing community forums. We're taking input in the term of focus groups on what to do with that property. And there are surveys of the community that are providing input to the village council on how we might use that property long term. There's no commitment to develop the property. In fact, I think the primary focus has been on preservation of green space, but how much of that would be retained as green space is still an open question. So we're looking at all of this. We're not in any rush to dispose of property or to preserve it or whatever. We're trying to do the right thing. And now that we own it, we can control it and control the pace that we consider alternative uses. So the Canaan study is still ongoing. I suspect that we'll be completing that in November, December, and then by the end of the year, kind of have some idea in the direction that we might go. But that development of that property, it's a very important property environmentally from a green space standpoint, but it's also kind of the epicenter of development pressure throughout the entire two-county area. So that's only to say that we then have opportunities should we decide to figure out what to do with that from a development standpoint. The reason why development is something of a concern for the village is that when we purchased the property, we bonded for the purchase. We can easily pay this off in a very thoughtful way making our bond payments annually, much like people would do a mortgage. But it's also being the good steward of our financial resources. We want to make sure that if we preserve land, that it's a reasonable thing to do, given what certain parts of the land are actually worth. So if it's very high value land and we decide to preserve that land environmentally, that's fine, but we should understand what those implications are, both from an environmental preservation side as well as from a development side. So we're being very thoughtful, deliberate in our process, and also being very transparent. This will be a very public rollout of whatever options we might have, and it's coming soon. So that's a quick overview.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Steve, I'm sorry, any of the participants, do you have any questions for Steve from the audience? Okay, nobody. Barry, you're interested?
Yeah, Steve, how many people have taken the survey that Canaan has been running? How many people have actually taken the survey so far?
I don't have an exact count, but it's over about 140 at this point.
What are you looking for?
We're just looking to make sure that the outreach is there, that people have an opportunity. We've had some great input. So we didn't go into it with an expectation that there would be a certain number. So the 140 is pretty good, actually.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other questions of Steve? Thank you very much, Steve. We appreciate it. Thanks for getting here. We know you were delayed a little bit, and I know you ran all the way. Thanks.
We were affected by some other appointments at the house, so it's been juggling some things. Thank you, though.
Only kidding. We're happy you were here. Thank you very much.
Happy to contribute.
I'd like to get into the president's report, and then we'll move on to the other speakers. The first thing is an update on the Southwest Florida Regional Alliance Compact. You may recall at the last meeting, some of you attended, the ECCL is supporting the Southwest Florida Regional Alliance Compact, and so is the Village of Estero. The compact is an agreement between the county and municipal governments in Southwest Florida to identify in a collaborative fashion and prepare for and adapt to and mitigate climate change impacts. The compact will address sea level rises, water quality, harmful algae blooms, erosion, greenhouse gas emissions, heat events, droughts, flooding, and intensifying hurricanes. And I'm pleased to report, I had a conversation with the mayor, that the Village of Estero has agreed to sign a memorandum of understanding and join the enlightened group of municipalities supporting this compact formation. As we move forward, I'm sure you'll all be hearing about this as it gets more involved in our community. The next item is the ECCL Board of Directors had a workshop. I may have mentioned that last time. We conducted the workshop on Saturday, September 12th. All board members, all 9 board members participated. And recently there was a follow-up report that reflected some changes to the ECCL's approach to advocacy, the role of the board, and the role of management. The board will continue their dialogue, which will likely result in some policy changes and may result in some bylaw changes. If that happens, once the bylaws are put together with changes, they'll be sent to the members for a vote. Finally, we're going to participate and have been invited, and we are going to participate in assessing and developing strategic recommendations for economic development in Estero. There's the chamber, Gary Bonvillian is responsible for it, and FGCU is working with those folks, with the chamber, and will be working with the ECCL and others, including the Southwest Florida Regional Planning Council, the Estero Chamber of Commerce, as we mentioned, the Village of Estero, the Lee County Economic Development Office, Career Source, Southwest Florida, and of course, we mentioned FGCU's Regional Economic Research Institute. Some of the objectives, I just want you to understand what this is about. but they list, and I'm giving you a shorter version of it, to identify all of the current economic development initiatives going on in Estero, to assess the Village of Estero's comprehensive plan economic objectives, effectiveness, to identify resources, to make recommendations, to unify and strengthen economic development, to assess the implications of the COVID-19 pandemic, and to examine how Estero is contributing to the economic development projects of partner organizations. Those are just the short term. Longer term are to assess Estero's current readiness for expansion of economic development initiatives, to make known what existing enterprises expect from the support of agencies engaged in economic development, to make recommendations on what new enterprises are likely to locate their organizations in Estero, to make recommendations on the use of land available for Estero development, and to position Estero as one of the most vital communities in the regions. That was quite a list, but there's a lot more than that. This is going to be quite a endeavor, and we're really happy to participate in, and of course, we'll be keeping you informed about progress going forward. Are there any particular questions that the participants, attendees may have to the President's report? Anything at all? Okay, let's go on. What I'd like to do now is introduce Judy Hammond. Judy's lived in Florida for 4 years and currently lives in Estero's The Place. She retired from the Army Reserve and is honored to be a part of the planning of the Veterans Recognition Pocket Park Project. And she will speak about the creation of the Veterans Recognition Pocket Park. Judy?
Thank you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this project with you. And I actually think I kind of got it by default from Mark and Rosalind, because we were having a Zoom conference and my camera died. And so then the group gave me this opportunity to be the chairperson, I guess, if you will. And so here I am, and I'm very honored to be a part of it. The Culture and Recreation Council are partnering together, and we're investigating the creation of a Veterans Recognition Park in the Village of Estero. And we do not envision it as being like a Veterans Memorial. We want it just to be not a memorial with statues and that type of thing. The thought process is that we will have 7 flags in this area, and it will be the American flag along with the 6 service flags. That would be the Air Force, the Army, Coast Guard, Marines, Navy, and yes, we do have the Space Force flag that we will be, we envision having in this area. And remember, we want it to be like a little pocket area. It's not going to be a big park. We envision that we will have lighting on the flags, and I do know that they do have flagpoles that are solar, so the lights can be up at the top. We haven't gotten that far yet, but we are still working on that. And then we also envision to have a couple of benches for sitting and, just to reflect. So this will be a very casual, easy place that you can go sit, you can take your lunch, that type of thing. Our committee is made up of a great group of people, and I have not met everybody yet because of COVID, and we do things by Zoom. But we are diligently working to find a suitable location for this Veterans Recognition Park. And one thing we need to think about for that is we need to think about the accessibility to the park, and we need to think about parking. And I've only been in Estero for 2 years, but I have become familiar with several people, and I know Amy through Junior Achievement, which was a great experience. So now one thing that we have done, because we want to get a conceptual design for this project, we've reached out to Jenny Lick. She's a very great volunteer for Estero, and she's one of our local artists. And I've also reached out to Norm Habor. He's at the high school, and he has digital design classes. So we have visited with them to see if they can help us create a conceptual design for this project. So now we're kind of waiting on that, and we are still trying to narrow down a location for this park. So any help that we can get to try and locate something like that would be great. And I think that's really kind of about it, right, Mark? Do you have anything else?
Judy, that's it. That's pretty much, you know, right on track. We've talked to the village. We've talked to Lee Health. We've talked to Miramar Development Corporation. So we got a lot of feelers out. And like I said, if anybody's got a location, you know, shoot it to either Judy or myself. We'd appreciate it. Thanks, Judy.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Judy. To those in the audience, any questions of Judy? Okay, somebody has a question. Susan? Susan Lindemann?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Perfect. I guess my biggest question for this is, what is the status of the Estero Community Park in this? I know it's a county property, but would they be willing to host something like this? I've seen it in other counties. That would really take care of the parking and the accessibility issues.
I'll go ahead and jump in. We, not knowing who's going to own the Estero Rec Center, you know, long term, we haven't really gone down that road yet. That could be where we end up. But again, we're looking, Susan, we're looking at all areas. So appreciate the input on that.
Okay, Joe Maselli, you'll have to unmute your computer. There you go. Joe, you have a question? Joe? Apparently Joe has decided not to ask a question. Okay, so let me go on then and introduce Judy Yelling. Julie is a member of our Transportation Council. She's been wintering in Estero for about 11 years. And after retiring last year, she became involved in improving litter prevention and removal in the Estero community. So Julie will talk about a recently created program, the ECCL Adopt a Highway program. Julie?
Good morning. Thank you, Jim. I want to thank the ECCL for taking a leadership role in adopting our 4+ mile stretch of Highway 41. I'm very excited about this program. This is through the Florida Department of Transportation. And I look forward to working with the volunteers during our litter pickup events. Our October 24th event is the first of 7 that have been planned for this season. This is on one Saturday morning each month. These will be small groups with a minimum age of 16 to participate. This is an opportunity for communities, church, civic, high school groups, even businesses to be a part of keeping our village of Estero beautiful and litter-free. And we need everybody's help in this endeavor. Many member representatives have reached out to their communities, and I've heard from several, plus one business who will be opening later this year in Estero. We are all set for our October event. Thank you to Rapallo at Coconut Point, Marsh Landing, Colonial Oaks, and Copperleaf. We still have openings for our other events, so please keep spreading the word. The contact email is ecclhighway41@gmail.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Are there any questions from the participants in the audience? Okay, we have a couple here. We have Sally Riccardelli. Sally, you're on. You have to unmute yourself, or let's see if I can do it. No, you have to do it. There you go. You're good, Sally. You're on.
Hi, Julie. This is Sally Riccardelli from Lake Michigan Credit Union. How are you?
Good. I recognize your name, Sally. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Is there a way of getting those dates ahead of time? Because I do work Saturdays occasionally, and I just wanted to get those times off that you need the help, because I'd love to be a part of the volunteering as well.
Thank you, Sally. I will forward that to you this morning.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Sally. Anyone else? Yes, Judy. Amy.
Julie, is there a website where we could look for those dates to possibly volunteer a group? Or how do you do that?
Well, I can tell you what the dates are right now, if you want to write them down.
Yeah.
I don't think we have them posted. Are they on, would they be on the Stero calendar, Mark or Jim?
I don't believe they're on the website yet.
Okay, they wouldn't be a public.
No.
I can tell you what those dates are. October 24, which I just mentioned, November 21, December 19, January 23, February 21, March 21, and April 24. So those are the 7 events that we're planning. Again, these are planned, scheduled events where I know how many people for these small groups that we're going to have. It's not a call out to just show up kind of event.
Thank you.
Amy, did you have a question? Go ahead.
Yes, I do. Hey, Julie, have you contacted Estero High School? Because there are tons of kids there that need volunteer hours for their Bright Future scholarships.
I can certainly do that.
Okay. Let me know if you need help getting, with someone.
Okay, Mark.
Yes, the reason we need to know how many people, and it's a finite number, is we have to get supplies and equipment from the Florida Department of Transportation. So we're talking vests and bags and where to put the bags and some other things. So there are some instructions, and that's why it's just not a call for everybody to show up. When those groups signed up, as Julie said, they will be given specific instructions. We'll have water for them. There's all kinds of things. So yeah, Julie's doing a great job on that. We got the first one covered. We got a meeting date set with the transportation department so we can pick up all the supplies. Life's going good. We just need some more groups to fill in the rest of the days. And Alan, if you and Julie can work to get it on the website so we can sign up, I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah, in
Thanks.
fact, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to liaise with Julie about exactly that. So we can do that and get something there for sure.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark, and thanks, Alan. I'd like to just give some kudos to folks, a little recognition. Julie did mention a few folks that had already raised their hand, but I'd like to just sort of give a pat on the back to Frank Moser for Apollo. He's committed some volunteers, and Frank is always there. Joyce Johnson from March Landing. There's a variety of people from the Colonial Oaks, Alex Meserly from Copper Leaf, Pelican Sound, and several others. So I just wanted to give them a little pat on the back simply for reaching out so quickly. And that's what these folks do, and it's really tremendous. So thanks again. If there are no other questions for Julie, I'd like to introduce Amy Kutchen-Becker. Amy's a member of our Education Council, and I've known her for quite some time. We partnered up with a JA program for young kids, which is really something. And she serves as the administrator of our highly successful Junior Achievement Program. Amy and her husband are business owners for the past 35 years. She's speaking now from up where in Ohio, someplace in Ohio, is it, right?
Yes, it is.
So welcome, Amy. She's going to talk about the various programs under the Educational Council. So Amy, you're on.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to speak today about our collaboration between the village, Junior Achievement, and our 4 Estero area schools, Estero High School, Three Oaks Middle School, and 2 elementary schools, Pinewoods and Three Oaks Elementary. This was started a number of years ago by Jim Shields and Jim Gilmartin. They're the first ones I saw in a just call for meeting, and I call them the Jims now. But we recruited people just by sending out emails, inviting them to meetings, and went from there. And to date, we've taught 2 entire school years. And with that being one in the fall in each school, one in the spring in each school. And we have a list here of about 160 people that have either participated. We have some one and dones just because of personal things they have going on. And we have some dedicated people like myself, Jim Gilmartin, Jim Shields, of course. Barry Friedman's wife, Judy, has taught in almost every, of the 4 grades that we teach. And Judy Hammond has taught in 2nd grade. Mark teaches 8th grade. So there's a bunch of us that, love this. And it's not that much of a commitment, but just to show you the enthusiasm. We have gotten people from 21 communities in Estero, most of them gated communities. People are happy to come out from behind the gates. We also have about 14 businesses, banks, different organizations, the Chamber of Commerce, just different folks that have come in, dedicated, an hour a week. It's not a big, huge thing. And then we have just random parents that sign up. And what we're doing is teaching financial literacy, working in conjunction with proven lesson plans provided by Junior Achievement for for the 2nd grade, teaching what a community is. And Jim Gilmartin and I had the pleasure when we were teaching to teach these kids about taxes. And if you don't think that a 2nd grader can learn and understand what taxes are by the time we're done with them, you've never taught 2nd grade at Junior Achievement. Correct, Jim Gilmartin?
Absolutely.
We had children hiding their money under their desks because they did not want to pay their taxes. And, the tax man cometh for us all. So, and then in 5th grade, we start to teach entrepreneurship. We had some kids that from their project used those for their science fair projects. 8th grade, we teach financial literacy, and we scream in the classroom, you can't spend more money than you make. We work on budgets, blah, 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 blah. 11th grade is kind of a branding, how to present yourself at an interview, conflict management. And the teachers have been so appreciative. I'm working with our 8th grade teacher right now as to how we can do this curriculum that we have been doing, financial literacy, and do it, remotely. And so Junior Achievement is also working with us because a lot of those projects are sit on the floor, talk to each other, laugh, yell. And ambassadors themselves, I've had a number of people, when can I come back? I love this. This is the highlight of my week. And gee, this really didn't take that much time. And all I can say is we're in a standstill right now because of COVID. I mean, none of us want to go into a school right now, me included. But keep it on the back burner because I get emails all the time. What's it looking like? What are you doing? Is there some way I can help? And these are people that just love this program. And I know Mark loves 8th and 11th grade. You pick what you want. It's, you get as involved as you want. And I've met so many nice people. And we have all age groups of ambassadors from, people that are retired, have owned businesses, have been police officers. We have a couple of young bankers and attorneys that work with us that, they take time out of their days. A lot of employers absolutely support this program because they've had experience with it. And anyway, any questions, you can text me or my email, I believe, is on the website. And please, 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 when everybody's all better, we're going to want to go back in the classroom, and we're going to need you guys, and you'll meet lots of nice people. So thank you for the time, and you can text me at 440-567-3448. Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. And you're right. It's really quite a pleasure to get involved in that program. We've got a good relationship with Junior Achievement right now, and the ECCL supports them in all of their endeavors. So are there any questions for Amy? Anyone? Okay. Seeing there's no questions, let me go on then, and I'll talk a little bit about the ECCL's finances. John Quinn is usually doing this, but he's out of town right now, so I'll take it. It's very short. We ended September to date with a stable cash position of about $22,000. The surplus provides actually for unexpected and unbudgeted expenditures. Membership revenue is up and spending is down. We anticipate membership revenue for the balance of the year and expenses to continue month after month. The Advocacy Foundation received several donations in September. I was surprised, 2 $500 donations from individuals who see the value of what we're trying to do in terms of advocacy. And we currently have a cash fund balance in the foundation of about $14,300. John has asked me to ask all of you who are tuning in, we continue to look for volunteers to form a finance committee. And again, like most of the committees and councils that the ECCL has, it's not a matter of spending a significant amount of time as members. The council chairs and leadership and so on do spend a significant amount of time, but the membership itself is not that bad. So we're looking for people to join the finance committee. If you have a background in accounting or finance or investments, or you just want to get involved in that side of it, we welcome your participation. And we ask you to contact John Quinn, our Chief Financial Officer, at ECCLCFO@gmail.com. And John will be happy to talk to you more about it. Are there any questions about the financial report? Anyone? Thank you. Okay. Next up is Barry Friedman. Barry's is our Chief Membership Development Officer, and he's got a few comments. Barry?
Thank you. As you heard from Jim's financial report, the membership dues and so on are on target. Everybody has paid for the year, which is always a good thing. Billing for this next year will go out in January. Our membership numbers are up. Not only have we gained some non-residential communities like businesses and individuals as members, but we're pleased to report that some of our former communities that were members have rejoined, and that would be in particular the Homeowners Association at Grandiza has recently rejoined ECCL. We're always looking for people to join the membership committee, and this year we'll be particularly focusing on communities other than the residential communities as members, and you can reach me at ECCLMSHP@gmail.com. I almost lost my train of thought. I'll get it. Oh, new members. If you're joining now, well, this is only one meeting or maybe one left for the year. We'll probably put you on our membership rolls in terms of payments starting in January. So if you want to try a meeting and you're new on here, there's a couple of people I noticed who are participating in this meeting who are potential members. Please continue to join and pick out an advocacy council that you might like to participate with. That's it, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah, just a sidebar on that. As most of you know, or at least many of you know, the ECCL started off with members being basically residential communities, gated communities. We're changing that a bit, and we're reaching out to others in the community, other businesses, other organizations, etc. And we'll be doing that through a variety of different programs, sponsorship programs, and so on. We want to broaden our membership base. We want to make our voice louder than it is right now, and that's the way to do it. So we're not going to be just only focusing on residential community. As Barry said, we're now moving out. We've brought in various businesses to the ECCL, and we'll continue to do that. And the basic reason for it is to try to build up our funds in the Advocacy Foundation. The Advocacy Foundation, some of you may remember, was started back in June, and we built up some cash in there, but we need to build up much more. When we get into a position where we support or oppose some issue that's going to affect the quality of life in the Estero area, there are times when we need to have resources, experts, attorneys, engineers, various folks consultants who have an expertise in a particular issue that we're trying to either support or make some changes in some thinking. And without that funding in the foundation, we have a difficult time of doing it and a difficult time of combating or strongly supporting a specific issue, because the opposition side may have a whole slew of people, a whole group of people that they can afford to pay to make a compelling case for their position. We need to basically do the same and to focus on facts and take a balanced approach to our positions and so on. So it's important to understand the reason that we're looking to go outside of simply residential communities to build up the funds in the foundation so that we have the resources we need when we need them. Any other questions for Barry, folks out there? Okay, with that, I'll introduce our newly appointed and crowned Chief Communications Officer, Alan Bowditch. Alan's taken on the task of communications. And by the way, those of you who haven't figured it out, the ECCL is in the communications business. That's what we do. And Alan has agreed to join us, and he's been really, really helpful to me and to the organization. So Alan, perhaps if you have some things to say, you're on.
All right, thank you, and good morning, everyone. Well, the Communications Committee was formed actually in the earlier part of this year, but I became involved in I suppose, heading it up more recently. One of the key tasks that, is very much a focus, not only of the Communications Committee, but obviously of the ECCL, is trying to expand its reach. And while social media has been a feature within the ECCL for some time, we recognize that that really needs to be expanded and developed further. I'm pleased to say that just very recently we appointed Karen Katz. She, in fact, is going to be a reporter to report back to the Communications Committee on issues that are going on within both the ECCL and outside. And that started to take place already. And in fact, Karen has also agreed to be a board member, a committee member of the communications group. Just very recently, we've also expanded the team with the appointment of Mark Wasson. Mark lives in Grandeza, and I'm delighted to say that with his background in journalism and publishing, he will be a great addition to what is already turning out to be now, I think, a very rich team. Just in addition to that, we also are encouraging, some of the board members to take part within some of the committees. I mean, they have a wonderful background and a range of key areas that I think can help some of the committees that are operating within the ECCL. So I'm hoping that with discussions with one or two of the board members right now, they may be able to assist us further. So it's a very encouraging picture. We know there's a lot to do, but we're looking forward to increasing our work in this area and expanding what the ECCL communicates to everyone in Estero and the surrounding communities. Thank you.
Thanks, Alan. From the audience, from the group, anybody have any questions for Alan?
Alan, that reminds me of what Alan and Jim, you and I created in the past month or so. We went out and contacted, with Alan's help, the representatives and alternates from each of the communities. Number one, to remind them of their responsibilities to contact their boards and their resident members, the members of the companies in their communities, to keep them abreast of what we talk about at these meetings and what's going on in the various advocacy councils. And we know for some, that's been difficult. They don't write well. They admit they don't know how to write, and that's okay. So we've agreed now to send out, following this and periodic meetings, what we're going to call an ECCL monthly report. Short, a few bullet points, so that those of you who rep at the communities or are managing communities can simply cut and paste it and either put it in your community newsletter on a regular basis, and perhaps some of you have already said to me you've created your own spot for ECCL on the monthly newsletter, and that's exactly what we're looking for. So to be sure that everybody gets it. If you need help doing that, let us know. We'll figure out how to get those emails to your community. But the direct communications, you don't have to develop it anymore. We've got a team that will do it, and you'll get it so that you can put it into your community newsletters as quickly as possible. And I'm delighted that it took a while. It took about 3 weeks, but every single community responded to our email saying they got it, they got the communication, and they understand the responsibilities. And several have already said, yes, we will be including it in our monthly communications. So thanks, Alan. That's worked out well.
Thanks, Barry. That's good. Julie, you had a question?
Yes, thank you, Jim. Alan, this isn't a specific question for you, but I just wanted to clarify, going back to Adopt a Highway, to make sure I clarify the contact email address, and that's ECCLHWY41@gmail.com. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Julie. Okay, are there any other questions at all? This is sort of a final shout out for questions for any of the subject matter or speakers that we've had this morning. Anybody? Okay, so since there aren't any questions, then I'm going to close out the meeting. I really thank the speakers and all who participated in this meeting, and remind you again, you can see it, watch it on esterotoday.com probably late this afternoon or tomorrow at the latest, and you can get a sense if you missed something, you'll be able to pick up on it online. So our next meeting, likely a Zoom meeting, will be Friday, November 13th at 10 a.m. And we look forward to seeing you and hearing from you then. Please stay safe. The meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.